codenamed Tyrant, were in fact the same person. Back in his office, the association superior listened calmly to her report. After thinking about the information, he gave a new command, telling Xiao Su to pause her mission for now. He explained that the pioneer had saved her team, killed the monsters, and secured the area. These were not the actions of an enemy. He added that he and Old Han, Major Han Li, didn't agree on the matter, and for her own safety and to avoid leaving a bad impression on their powerful potential ally, she was to stop all contact with the tyrant for the time being. While on the phone with her boss Su Qingying, though she had agreed to pause her mission, couldn't help but add one more piece of information. She told him she had one more theory, based on what happened when she had tracked Tyrant to the back mountain where he was advancing his power. Her boss, interested, asked her to explain. She explained that during that encounter she had sensed an incredibly strong aura where he was active. At the time, she suspected he might have a spiritual weapon but thought it was unlikely. However, now that it was confirmed he had two high-tier powers, the possibility seemed much more real. The association superior was surprised by this new information, questioning if the pioneer really had a spiritual weapon. He quickly became skeptical, leaning back and saying it was highly unlikely. He argued that no matter how talented, a solo pioneer couldn't possibly have such a rare item without outside help. Furthermore, he added, the team had found no traces of a third spiritual energy, which would usually come from a separately made spiritual weapon. Su Qingying quickly corrected him, clarifying an important detail. The spiritual weapon aura she had sensed during her first encounter with him was clearly a yang attribute. This new information completely changed things. The superior's eyes widened as he understood what this meant. If the weapon's attribute came directly from the user's own yang energy, it meant he wasn't just using a weapon, he was creating it. This led to an amazing conclusion. If he could create his own spiritual weapons, then he had to be a spirit creation realm cultivator. Such a being could theoretically do this alone, but that level of power was almost mythical. Su Qingying was floored by this idea, knowing that cultivators at that level were extremely rare, with barely more than 2 in the entire world. The superior then thought of an even more terrifying possibility. If this person did have a third, separate attribute, it would shift the balance of power and shake the entire pioneer community. He explained that according to all known research, different attributes clash inside the human body, making it nearly impossible for them to exist together. So far, no pioneer had ever been confirmed to have 3 different spiritual attributes. Therefore, if the pioneer truly had a spiritual weapon, the fact that they didn't detect a third energy signature from it might actually be a good thing. As the call ended, the superior was left with a single worrying thought. He could only hope that such a powerful pioneer would never become an enemy of humanity. Back at his apartment, Fang Yi stood thoughtfully under a hot shower, washing away the dirt and tiredness from his recent battle. As he dried off, he thought about the current state of the world. He knew there was less than a year until the official spiritual energy revival, but dangerous monsters and strange events were already happening more and more often. He used his yang attribute to easily dry his clothes, his hand glowing with golden energy as he thought about how many pioneers, like himself, had already started cultivating on their own. He thought back to the aggressive men he had met at the lava river, realizing that once the connection between the body and the spiritual world was opened, people naturally became more sensitive to the world's changes. He recognized that even without the country's official approval, many self-trained pioneers had already reached the 1-star Ghost Axe realm. The fact that the government, through agents like Su Qingying, was now reaching out to wild pioneers like him showed that both sides were in a relatively peaceful phase of mutual exploration. Standing in his room, thinking about Major Han Li and Su Qingying, he concluded that for now, the monsters were still under control, and there was no serious conflict yet among the different pioneer groups. However, as he